All right, back at it, and today we are talking about how to draw the female head, but this video in particular is going to talk about basic light and shadow. Joining me today is Casey McGrath. If you're watching this video for drawing the female head, that's awesome, or this is a really good standalone video that's going to help you with your basic light and shadow. So when I was going through art school and trying to be a better artist, I would take these classes and I was pretty good at drawing, but shading and light and shadow was always something I had a hard time with. And the reason why is because I would have art teachers that would tell me about form shadow, cast shadow, core shadow, reflected light. They would talk about all these different shadows. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm looking at this still life that we're drawing, like there's light and there's shadow. Why do you gotta go and make it all complicated with all this stuff? Whenever it's lighter, I'll just make it lighter, and whenever it's darker, I'll make it darker. Easy peasy mac and cheesy, right? Well, a little bit later in my education, I actually learned a secret that helped me big time, and I want to share that with you because it's going to help your drawing. It's going to help your drawing if you're drawing the female head, but also anything that you're drawing. This will multiply your drawing ability times 100. All right, let's take a look at this here. I'm going to draw this twice, and I want you guys to imagine a sphere that is sitting on a table. So I'm going to draw a border here just to keep it in a border. I'm going to go ahead and put in the panel. Now let's say we've got our sphere, which is a ball, and let's say it's sitting on a table, right? So there it is, you can clearly see the sphere. It's clearly sitting on the table. Now I'm going to draw that again, but I'm going to put in some basic light and shadow. Here is our sphere. Here is the edge of the table. Usually when you have an object, it's lit by a single dominant light source. So this happens all the time. If we're outside, the sun is our single dominant light source. In this room, it's a little crazy with the lighting, but normally when you go into a kitchen, when you go into your bedroom, you flick on the lights. Usually there's a single dominant light source that is illuminating everything. So let's say with this sphere, let's say we've got that light source. Let's say it's coming from an angle up above, and let's say it's coming at an angle like this. So what happens, you usually have a highlight hot spot, something like that, where the highlight is. Then what happens, whenever you have a three-dimensional object, half of the object is always in the light, half of the object is always in the shadow. And we know this from the planet Earth because half of the Earth is always in the daytime, half of the Earth is always in the nighttime. So there's an area where it transitions over. This area, it's actually an astronomical term called the Terminator, and it's where it changes from daytime to nighttime. So as we're changing from light into shadow, it's kind of an area like this, but we don't want to draw a straight line because it doesn't just jump. So for example, Casey, how weird would that be if we were hanging out? What if we were playing some co-ed baseball with friends and it's like 7 o'clock in the evening and we're having fun, we're eating hot dogs and we're drinking, I don't drink brew, but everyone else is drinking brew. I'm drinking fun drinks that have umbrellas in them, We're hanging out and then suddenly it turns to nighttime, and I'm like, oh my God, here I am, I'm a grown man, and it still creeps me out every time that happens. Obviously, that's not what happens. It happens gradually, and we have a sunset, things slowly get darker. So what's important to know about the Terminator is it transitions from daytime to nighttime or from light into shadow. This is going to be a soft, fuzzy edge. What this shadow is called, there's two shadows you need to know. I know, we got to learn about different shadows. There's only two of them. And if you can understand the difference between these two shadows, it is going to make your drawing so much better. This first shadow is called form shadow. And it's really easy to remember because it rhymes with the greatest G.I. Joe ninja of all time, storm shadow. So form shadow is your soft edges. So as this rolls into shadow, Now I can't, these markers don't shade, so I can't, if you have a pencil, you could shade this softly. So instead, I have to do chicken scratch. But hopefully from far away, up close this looks like a barbed wire fence, but hopefully from far away, this has the illusion of rolling into shadow. In other words, if there were an ant crawling around this sphere, the ant would be in the light, the ant's in the light, the ant's in, okay, it's a little darker. Okay, now the ant's in the nighttime crawling around this sphere. That's form shadow. Now, next up we have what's called cast shadow. Every three-dimensional object that you have that is lit by a single dominant light source is casting a shadow somewhere. Now in this case, this sphere is sitting on the table, so our shadow, if the light is coming down like this, we're going to have a shadow that looks something like so. And I'm going to go ahead and shade that in. And what's interesting about this shadow has a hard edge, and that's the difference between form shadow and cast shadow. Form shadow has a soft edge. Cast shadow is the shape of this object casting onto this table. In other words, if an ant was crawling across this table, the ant's in the light, the ant's in the light, the ant's in the light, and boom, now the ant's in shadow, the ant's in shadow, the ant's in shadow, boom, now the ant is in the light again. This is a hard edge shadow. It's light meeting up against darkness. Now, there's one more thing we can do. If the light is coming down like this, the table is going to be illuminated pretty well. And then the background, no matter if the background is, if it's a different color, if it's darker, if it's lighter, because the light is coming down this way, even if this was a dark table, this surface is going to look lighter than what the background is here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some darkness against the table to really help that edge stand off of the page. And I'm also going to have that darkness around the sphere, and that's actually pretty cool because that's also going to help the sphere stand out. And to really help define the edge of the table, I'm going to add just a little bit more cross-hatching since I can't do shading with these markers. I have to resort to line work. Now, do you see how this is clearly a sphere sitting on a table? Can you please tell me what this is up here? Like, that's cray. Like, that either looks like, you ever see the, like when kids play with those two yellow blocks, you put them together and it makes the hole in the middle? Or it looks like, to me, this almost looks like a paper plate balancing on a string and you're looking down at it like this. This, before, you were like, yeah, it's totally a sphere sitting on a table. But now when you see this, unmistakably, this is a sphere sitting on a table. Every single object that is lit by a single dominant light source is casting a shadow somewhere, even our planet. Yes, planet Earth. Right now, the sun is lighting us, and we happen to be in daytime right now. If you look outside, it's totally daytime. Right now, the sun is illuminating the Earth, and it's casting a shadow somewhere into the far reaches of space. In fact, Casey, can you tell me what it's called when the planet Earth is casting a shadow onto the moon and the moon starts to disappear?
An eclipse.
That is, it's an eclipse. I think that might be a lunar eclipse, I think is what that one's called. Mm-hmm. And in fact, that's how we discover new planets. When we see a star really far away and then we see something pass in front of it and that star starts to disappear, we know it's a planet. Now, I like to think it's just a really big starship that's in front of it and we've just discovered a new battle station of some sort, but one can dream, right? That is the difference between form shadow and cast shadow. This is going to save your life and help you out, regardless of what kind of illustration you're doing. When you can make your sharp edges sharper, when you can make your soft edges softer, this is going to help you out big time. So you want to start emphasizing your form shadows and your cast shadows. So we are going to come back for one more video on drawing the female head. When we do, we're going to take this idea of form shadow and cast shadow and we are going to apply it one last time to the female face. Stay with me. Did you enjoy class today? If so, give me a like. If there's something you'd like to see me cover in a future video, let me know what that is in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I've also got a video series called Sketchbook Challenge that helps your drawing, creativity, and fill up an awesome looking sketchbook. Plus, there are videos on You Can Draw Star Wars, Hollywood is Dead, and sneak peeks at the Aladdin 3477 motion picture trilogy. In order to not miss any new videos, hit that notification bell. Sharing is caring, and it's great to inspire your friends. Share this video on social media and your friends will share awesome art tips they find with you. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Matt_Busch_Instagram. I'll see you back in the classroom soon. Don't be tardy.